Ranger Wayne Coburn keyed his radio at 11:52 p.m. on Pine Mountain, then said nothing else. 9 minutes later, a second ranger found his flashlight still burning in the grass. The batteries weren't dead. Coburn was. That case sits inside 11 sealed National Park Service files, spread across 5 Appalachian states, spanning 4 decades. Different rangers, different mountains. The same unfinished sentence in every report. Tonight we open all 11, starting with the thinnest file on record and ending with the one investigators still can't explain. Tell us your state below. One of these men may have patrolled closer to home than you'd guess. Number 11, James Elkins, Blue Ridge Parkway, Virginia. 9 typed lines. That's the entire official record on Ranger James Elkins, dated March 1994, and it may be the thinnest file in NPS history for an incident involving a search party. Elkins radio dispatch near milepost 339, reporting what his own report calls an unaccountable loss of bearing. He was found 2 hours later, unharmed, 2 miles from where he'd started, on a trail he'd walked for 6 years without incident. No follow-up interview exists. No supervisor's notes survive alongside it. Whoever closed this file did it fast and left almost nothing behind to explain why. Elkins finished out his career without another incident on record. He also never worked that stretch of trail again, a scheduling detail his supervisor approved without comment. A thin file isn't nothing. Sometimes it's the opposite, proof that someone decided the less written down, the better. Number 10, Herman Sledge, Cherokee National Forest, Tennessee. A cold spot doesn't usually make it into an official incident report. Ranger Herman Sledge's did. In 1996, Sledge described a cold spot, roughly 10 feet across, that moved with me for approximately 40 yards before dissipating. 2 sentences, signed and filed, with no further elaboration requested by his supervisor. Sledge retired the following spring, years ahead of the timeline he'd told co-workers he was planning. Nobody at his district office questioned the early exit. Nobody asked why a ranger with a clean 20-year record would walk away from a pension a full year short of maximum benefit. Whatever Sledge felt on that trail, he priced it against his own retirement and decided the trail wasn't worth finishing. Number 9, Alicia Marsh, George Washington National Forest, Virginia. For sentences. That's how long Ranger Alicia Marsh's 2011 report runs, and it ends without a conclusion of any kind. Marsh described standing on flat, level ground and feeling, in her own words, watched from below. A sensation with no elevation change nearby to explain it. No cliff edge, no overlook, nothing beneath her but ordinary forest floor. Her supervisor logged the report and closed the case within the week. Marsh never filed another unusual incident report in the 8 years she worked that district afterward. Colleagues who knew her say she also stopped taking solo patrols on that particular loop, quietly, without ever giving a reason anyone remembers. One ridge over, a different ranger's file raises the same question in a different state. Number 8, Dale Ferris, Shenandoah National Park, Virginia. Shenandoah's Skyline Drive corridor is one of the most heavily patrolled stretches of parkland in the entire system. Ranger Dale Ferris knew every mile of it by 1985, which is exactly why his supervisor's report on that October night stands out. Ferris radioed a location check near Big Meadows and gave coordinates nearly half a mile from where his patrol log placed him 20 minutes earlier. No vehicle malfunction was found. No GPS error was logged, because rangers in 1985 weren't using GPS at all. Ferris was navigating by landmark and instinct, the same way he had for a decade. He couldn't explain the gap when asked directly. His supervisor's closing note reads only, "Distance discrepancy noted, cause undetermined." Ferris kept working that corridor for another 11 years. He also, according to two former co-workers, stopped patrolling Big Meadows after dark for the rest of his career without ever asking for the schedule change in writing. Number 7. Delia Fry, Cherokee National Forest, Tennessee. Her transmission cut mid-sentence. That alone wouldn't be unusual on a mountain radio system prone to dead zones. What makes Ranger Delia Fry's 1987 case different is what happened after. Fry walked out of the woods on her own, for hours later, and told her supervisor she couldn't account for the time. She offered no theory, no timeline, nothing beyond that single sentence. Her co-workers never pushed her for more, and her supervisor's report doesn't record a single follow-up question being asked. Fry requested a transfer 6 weeks afterward. She never worked another night patrol for the rest of her career, a decision her personnel file attributes to scheduling preference and nothing else. 4 hours is a long time to lose on a mountain you've patrolled for years. It's an even longer time for nobody in your own office to ask where you went. Number 6. Todd Whitmire, Chattahoochee National Forest, Georgia. 8 patrols, 8 identical failures. Ranger Todd Whitmire's handheld GPS lost signal for exactly 11 minutes, every single time, at the same stretch of trail near Blood Mountain in the summer of 2001. Cell towers in the area showed no outage during any of those windows. Other rangers running the same route reported nothing unusual on their own equipment. Whitmire requested reassignment within the month, citing personal preference on the transfer form, a phrase he never elaborated on when a co-worker asked him directly. Equipment fails randomly, or it fails for a reason. 8 identical failures at the same 11 minutes, on the same 11 yards of trail, isn't randomness. It's a pattern nobody in Whitmire's district ever formally investigated. Number 5. Patricia Voss, Nantahala National Forest, North Carolina. That's not something we discuss. 6 words, and the entire official response Ranger Patricia Voss received in 2004 after asking her district supervisor a direct question. Voss had read an internal bulletin referencing unresolved night patrol incidents circulated quietly among senior staff, and she wanted to know if any other ranger had reported hearing their own names spoken aloud with no source nearby. Her supervisor's email, later obtained through a public records request, gave her nothing further. Voss never raised the subject again. She finished her career on daytime patrols exclusively, a scheduling choice her file attributes to family reasons, an explanation co-workers who knew her well later called invented. Somebody in that office knew enough to shut the question down in 6 words. Nobody has ever explained what those 6 words were protecting. Number 4. Grady Combs, Pisgah National Forest, North Carolina. Radios don't usually broadcast sound that isn't being made near the microphone. Ranger Grady Combs's did, in 1992, for nearly 90 seconds. Dispatch recordings from that night, preserved by a retired district archivist, capture what the original transcript describes as rhythmic tapping, source unknown, coming through Combs's open channel while he stood, by his own account, in complete silence. Combs himself heard nothing. Dispatch heard it clearly enough to log it. An equipment technician examined the radio the following week and found no malfunction, no interference, nothing mechanical to explain a sound with no apparent source. Combs kept the same radio for another 4 years without a repeat incident. One ranger heard nothing. Dispatch, 90 miles away, heard something they still can't explain. That kind of gap is about to matter a great deal more. Number 3. Carl Doss and Simon Pruitt, Monongahela National Forest, West Virginia. 2 men, working nearly a mile apart, radioed almost identical distress calls within 90 seconds of each other in 1979. Neither had line of sight to the other. Neither could later explain what triggered the call. Rangers Carl Doss and Simon Pruitt used the same 3 words to dispatch, word for word, despite having no way to hear one another's transmission. Their written statements, filed separately the following week, matched closely enough that a supervisor flagged possible collusion, an accusation both men denied under oath during an internal review that ultimately went nowhere. The review board's closing statement contains one line investigators still can't reconcile. Subject's accounts consistent with prior incident, ref. File 6631B. No file numbered 6631B has ever surfaced in that district's archive, according to 2 separate researchers who filed formal requests decades apart. A supervisor referenced a case that, on paper, does not exist. And 2 counties away, a different supervisor made an almost identical choice to deny, in writing, that anything needed further review at all. Number 2, Wayne Coburn, Pine Mountain, Kentucky. This is the case from the beginning. Coburn's flashlight told investigators nothing. Fingerprints matched his own. The battery still had 2/3 of a charge left, and search dogs lost his scent at the exact spot where that flashlight sat. A detail his own incident report calls atypical for terrain of this type, without ever explaining what the phrase means. District Ranger Earl Massey requested the case stay open past the standard 90-day review. His request was denied in writing, twice, by an office 2 states away that gave no reason either time. The second denial came with a separate memo attached, for words long. Case closure stance. No further inquiry. No signature. No explanation for why a routine denial needed its own memo instead of a stamp on the original form. Massey kept a copy until he retired in 2003. He showed it to exactly one person outside his family, a journalist researching a regional history piece, who mentioned it in a single paragraph almost nobody read. Coburn was never found. Neither, as far as anyone has ever confirmed, was the reason his own supervisor was told twice to stop asking. Number 1, Otis Caldwell, Red River Gorge, Kentucky. Everything so far has left behind a paper trail, thin in places, but real. Ranger Otis Caldwell's case is different because it connects backward through 30 years of records nobody had reopened until his own supervisor went looking. Caldwell patrolled the Red River Gorge district for 19 years, longer than any other name on this list. On November 4, 1988, he radioed dispatch requesting immediate backup, his voice audibly shaking according to the dispatcher's own written statement. Backup found him seated on the ground 11 minutes later, uninjured, staring at a rock face he refused to look away from even when directly addressed. He gave one full statement 2 days later, then never spoke about that night again for the remaining 6 years of his career. In it, he described standing near a familiar outcrop when the surrounding sound simply stopped. No wind, no insects, nothing. The silence had a pressure to it, he wrote, like standing underwater. Then he heard his own name, spoken clearly, once, from a direction with no possible source behind it. Stand where Caldwell stood that night, cold stone at your back. Every sound you've trained yourself to expect on a mountain, gone, replaced by something closer to held breath and silence. Then your own name, spoken by no one standing near you. His supervisor cross-referenced the report against older district files and found 2 prior incidents from the 1950s using almost identical language, buried in paperwork nobody had opened in over 30 years. Both older reports described the same outcrop. Both used the exact phrase spoken clearly once. 3 men, separated by decades, describing the same location, the same silence, the same 3 words, without ever having access to each other's reports. Caldwell reportedly went pale reading the older files, according to a co-worker interviewed years later, and asked to be reassigned before finishing his shift that week. No geologist was ever sent to that outcrop. His supervisor closed the file with a single handwritten note that remains active policy today, 37 years later. Recommend no further personnel assigned to this location after dark. Nobody currently on staff can tell you why it was written. 11 rangers, 5 states, for decades, and in every file, the paperwork stops exactly where the real story should start. One more case exists, a 12th, still withheld at a family's request. Tell us which case here you'd investigate first, and we'll decide if the 12th comes next.